as he snarled. Then again, everything she said was a snarl. "She's Tiffany Parkman, a distant cousin of mine, which, of course, can be said of about a third of the town." As he was right about that, the Parkmans were the prominent family in Last Ride, and they had also taken that whole go forth and multiply deal and run with it. They owned the bulk of the businesses and occupied positions on every governing and social group, but that obviously didn't make them immune to premarital spats. "She's supposed to be marrying Keaton Dayton right about now," as he added after she checked her watch. "He's Darrell Dayton's kid." Darrell Dayton's name rang some bells for Matt. More old money and prominence. Unlike Matt's own family, his mother had been the polar opposite of money and prominence, and she'd been the reason Matt left Last Ride, the reason he hadn't returned until now. And it was his sincerest wish in life that no one would ever associate his name with the piece of shit his mother, Candy Lynn Corbin, had been. Gathering a deep breath, Matt stepped off the sidewalk and went to the wedding party. His first challenge was dodging an elbow that one of the bridesmaids slung at his gut. Inadvertently slung. The redhead was still tugging and pulling, trying to get the bride to budge, but Tiffany had apparently locked her heels onto the pavement and wasn't budging. "Folks," Matt said, raising his voice just enough to be heard, "I need you to get out of the street. You're backing up traffic." That was the God's honest truth, even though traffic was a bit of an exaggeration in Last Ride. Still, 3 cars were either trying to get by, or else the drivers were sitting there and gawking right along with the bystanders. "If you want, you can all come into my office and we can talk about this," Matt added. The bride stopped cursing, and she snapped toward Matt. She wasn't crying now, but there were plenty of telltale streaks of prior tears running through the thick makeup on her cheeks. "Sheriff Corbin, I want you to arrest that cheating sack of cow dung." The bride flung fingers painted murderous red in the direction of the Methodist church. "What Keaton did is a breach of promise." Probably, but Matt didn't want to spell out the bad news for Tiffany. That Texas didn't have what was called a heart balm law, that the offending parties couldn't be arrested, and that even though Tiffany could try to sue her fiancé in civil court to recoup wedding costs, she might never see a dime. What she also wouldn't be able to do was kick the cheater's ass or egg on any of her bridesmaid posse to do it for her. Tiffany's demand did give Matt some insight, though, as to why she was right here in this very spot. She'd likely run out of the church and come in the hopes of getting that arrest. "Why don't we go to my office?" Matt repeated, and he glanced around at the quickly growing crowd. "And the rest of you need to clear the street." Tiffany still didn't budge, but she did start crying again, and wailing. "Keaton had sex with that skank at his bachelor party," she sobbed. "There were pictures!" She whipped out her phone from a side pocket of her poofy dress and showed him. Yeah, that was a guy having sex, all right. Clearly, Keaton was an idiot, but since the news of his idiocy seemed to be recently learned information for Tiffany, it wouldn't do to tell her that she was better off without him. Just when Matt was ready to scoop up the bride and carry her out of the street and to his office, Tiffany stopped wailing, and her gaze zoomed to someone in the crowd. A tall blonde woman. And much to Matt's shock, the bride started ripping at her own dress. She caught onto the heart-shaped neckline and gave it a fierce yank. Fabric and lace ripped, and little pearls the size of pencil points went flying out like gnats. "Emory!" Tiffany called out. "I knew I should have had you make my dress. Things wouldn't have turned out like this." The last part came out in another wail, but the renewed sobs didn't stop Tiffany from continuing to strip. The woman was darn good at it, too, considering she was also fighting off the bridesmaids and her parents who were trying to stop her. Tearing off the rest of the top, Tiffany shucked the dress over her head, tossing it onto the street and stomping on it. That left her wearing just a white corset, white thigh-high stockings, and begging for a sprained ankle high heels. With those heels pecking away on the asphalt, she made her way to a blonde-haired woman who'd just arrived on scene. "Emory!" Tiffany sobbed again, and she flung